So politicians tend to screw up. In fact, it kind of seems like a pastime of theirs. But the current governor of New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham, has just screwed up to such a degree on the national stage that even her anti-gun friends aren't bailing her out of this one. What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? Today we're going to talk about perhaps one of the boldest anti-gun moves I have ever seen from a high-level politician in my lifetime. The governor of New Mexico has just issued a decree, and yes, I am using the word decree because I cannot think of a better word for this, basically stating that carrying a firearm, whether open or concealed, is now illegal in Albuquerque or the surrounding county. She did this, of course, via executive order because gun violence is, quote, a public health crisis. Remember when we said that unconstitutional overreach that our government got really used to during COVID would be used against us later? As much as I hate to drop another quarter in the Alex Jones was right jar, Governor Grisham just proved him right.
The governor of New Mexico says she has had enough. She has declared gun violence a public health emergency in her state and in its largest city, Albuquerque. She suspended the right to carry firearms in public. That suspension by Governor Michelle Grisham runs for 30 days.
So if you live in those areas of New Mexico, even if you have a concealed carry permit, your governor has now said you have no right to keep and bear arms. Despite the fact that it is quite literally in the United States Constitution and the Constitution of New Mexico. God, these politicians are getting very good at ignoring the only piece of paper that gives them any authority in the first place. The fact that we are all agreeing to the contract that is a constitution is the only thing separating them from being a fucking warlord. The piece of paper that she is shitting on is the same one that differentiates her from just a mobster in an albeit shittier suit. So I guess the real question comes down to what political authority does she have to be able to do this? It's directly contrary to the Constitution of the United States. It's directly contrary to the Constitution of New Mexico, the state of which she is the governor. Where is she deriving this authority? Well, that's the neat part. She doesn't have any. Even CNN asked her about this. They questioned if she even had the authority to do this, and she replied with, "We're gonna see."
But we also have, Governor, the Constitution of New Mexico and the Constitution of the United States, and you're an attorney. Do you think you're on solid constitutional ground here?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I had the right. I have the right.
Where is the right? Where is the right?
In the state of New Mexico. Public health, it's a suspension. It's not a ban.
Oh, well, you know, it's a good thing she clarified that it's not a ban. It's just a suspension, which is a temporary ban. Just another reminder that your natural God-given rights can be suspended anytime some Karen who is elected to some government position decides, you know what, you don't deserve them this month. This, of course, is rabidly unconstitutional, which is why there were immediately lawsuits filed from great gun rights groups like National Association for Gun Rights, Firearm Policy Coalition, literally just lawsuits shooting at this thing like a fucking, legal bukkake. Lawsuits that I not only hope are going to win, but I hope will carry heavy legal precedent with them. Lawsuits that not only show that it was wrong to do this in the first place, but lawsuits that show that it is wrong going forward. If you know that you can't pass a bill the right way, you can't just label it a public health crisis and then run off with it like it's the brand new keys to a COVID Ferrari and it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, it doesn't take a law school graduate to see why this is absolutely unconstitutional. Nor does it take a law school graduate to realize if you want to get your start in gunsmithing and weapons technology, you should check out the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Check out SDI.edu. They're a great sponsor of the channel and we appreciate their support. And I think that the legal precedent they're going to set with this is why the anti-gun crowd is actually reeling back off of this. A lot of Democrat politicians and anti-gun activists are actually backing away from this one and leaving Governor Grisham out to dry because they know what's coming next. Hell, even David Hogg had a reasonable take on this one. Quote, "I support gun safety, but there is no such thing as a state public health emergency exception to the US Constitution." Fuck me, I guess a broken clock is right twice a day. Now, backing up for a minute, I know I've made this entire video so far from the perspective of course, a Texan. So let's hear the perspective of somebody on the ground there in New Mexico. In fact, it's the gentleman who brought this story to my attention in the first place. His name is Dr. Bo Hightower. He's actually a friend of mine and a fellow YouTuber. So Bo, how are things looking in New Mexico?
Hey Brandon, yep, we're over here in New Mexico, where our constitutional rights are taking a beating like a piñata at a quinceañera. To summarize how things are going, This shit is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, Bo, I think you speak for all of us on that one. So the governor has laid down an official order suspending the gun rights for people of Albuquerque. Who is going to step up and enforce this? Well, the answer is obviously the sheriff's department of that county. Well, except they're fairly based and they decided, fuck that.
Unconstitutional. That's what the Bernalillo County Sheriff is saying about the governor's new health order banning open and concealed firearms in public places around Albuquerque.
I have a fact for you. Criminals do not follow the law or a public health order. Is there a realistic way to enforce this order? No, there is not, because we'll cut that conversation off because it's unconstitutional. So there's no way we could enforce that order.
That's right. So not only is she facing multiple lawsuits for the unconstitutionality of what she's trying to do, but the enforcement branch of the people that she's currently trying to use to do it with have decided that we're just not gonna. So if one was to stage a relatively large open carry protest there in Albuquerque, then the local sheriff department would probably not do anything about it. That's an interestingly specific hypothetical. That's because it just happened today at time of recording.
Do not comply!
Outrage after a controversial firearm ban in New Mexico. The emergency order sparking open carry demonstrations in Albuquerque. Crowds of people publicly carrying guns in defiance of the governor.
This is fantastic to see people putting their money where their mouth is and standing up to unconstitutional gun rights in such a public display. I personally am going to be traveling through that part of New Mexico over the next couple of days, and you better believe I will be carrying when I'm there. But not only is this a poetic fuck you to the government, which of course I'm always down for, trust me, that's kind of been my most recent side quest. Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas. Tony, welcome, please come in. Don't mind if I do. But it also shows the power and the effectiveness of civil disobedience. To show politicians, no matter what you write down on a piece of paper, no matter what you decree, if it goes against the Constitution and the natural rights of Americans, real Americans will not comply, real Americans won't enforce it, and real Americans will make sure you lose your fucking job. And this example right here is a shining beacon that reminds everybody that the government in the United States can get away with exactly as much as you let them get away with. Because when real Constitution-loving Americans can stand up and say, we will not comply, police will say, we will not enforce, that's when the politicians start getting scared. And to roughly paraphrase Thomas Jefferson, when the people fear the government, there's tyranny, but when the government fears the people, there's liberty. So you guys know I don't typically get involved in state laws and things like that, but this was just so fucking wild that I thought it deserved a dedicated video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you live in New Mexico, please, for the love of God, keep up the pressure. If you can, support great gun groups like National Association for Gun Rights, Firearm Policy Coalition, those types. And please, if you like the content, subscribe. I promise all my videos aren't quite this preachy. We actually have an AK-50 update coming for you guys soon, just because I love you, as a treat. But I appreciate you guys staying all the way to the end, and as always, I'll see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon, like Rasputin's rise to the top.
That's when the ruling class... That sounds a little fucking communist.